All right, Magic Makers. I have been doing these Friday episodes for a while now. And one of the things I have been really focusing on is what I call my six pillars of health. So we talked about sleep, we talked about self-care, we talked about nutrition, we talked about exercise. Now we're talking about um, mindset, right? And mindset, you know, I don't think of this as a pyramid, but if I were to think about this as a pyramid, mindset is at the top of the pyramid, where being stress and sleep being at the bottom of the pyramid, right? If we aren't sleeping, it's really like a snowball effect. Many of you, when you don't get enough sleep, you get, your hunger is out of whack, you get cravings, you get bitchy, right? And for stress, we also get hungry, we get bitchy, we don't sleep, right? So those are the first two pieces of the pyramid. And then we can move into our nutrition, we can move into our exercise, and then we can move into mindset, because mindset is how we think about everything, right? So it's at the top of the pyramid. And for, a lot of people, when I say mindset, I hear people are like, oh, mindset, like it's this mythical thing. If you ever watch the what's it called, Wizard of Oz, right? Mindset is that, like, we're marching through, I don't know, was it a forest? Oz. You were marching through Oz, and we're looking for this mythical thing, and then, like, when you get it, it's going to be, you're going to meet the great Oz, meet the great mindset. But that's not really how mindset works, right? Mindset is at the end of the day, mindset's two things, right? Mindset is how we think how life is, right? We either think I am where I am and that's life, or I think, you know what, here's where I am, but there is a possibility, right? Those are the two places that I can think. And depending on what I ask you, you might be, it is what it is, or you might be like, well, it is what it is right now, but I can make a change, right? And it all depends on you where you are. And for many of us, right, we want to think about life as it's a series of learning events. That's life. It is a series of learning events. Not everything's going to work out, but I can learn from the times that it doesn't work out. I can learn from it versus letting it be a sign that it's not supposed to work. It's a sign that I shouldn't do something different. Or I could stay in this cocoon knowing that I want something different, but afraid that if I step out of the cave, I'm going to get, killed by a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah, saber-toothed tiger. Right. So we all need to, if I want something, everyone listening to here wants something. We want health, right? If you're listening to this podcast, you want health. You're listening to this podcast, you had health in the past, and just life came at you, and you're just like, how the hell did X number of years go past? How the hell did I have X number of kids and I'm still chasing this weight loss path? So in order for us to really shift our mindset, we have to get curious. And I don't know if I'll put it in the show notes. I don't know if you saw the TV show Ted Lasso. And there's a scene in the TV show. There's a scene in the TV show where he's in the bar and he's playing a game of darts with this guy, and he ends up beating this guy, and the guy basically underestimated Ted. And Ted says, there's a piece of the quote, and he says, "Be curious, not judgmental." And for so many of us, we are judgmental. We judge. We say, I saw Sharon. Sharon lost all the weight. I can't be like Sharon. And you just talk yourself out of it. You judge. You're like, I judge that I can't lose the weight. Or you judge that you are further along in your path than you are, that you can sustain a pace and try to meet with your life. So what I mean by that is, I've talked about this regularly. I have clients who they have children who are on elite sport teams, and that sport lasts from pretty much October through April. So trying to do something that requires a lot of time during October through April isn't a good idea. And it's not because they don't have the discipline, the will, the motivation. It's just they don't have the fucking time to get it done. So they have to say, okay, given the amount of time that I have left, what can I do? That's a shift in our mindset. not the mindset of like, I must go, 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 go in order to get. The mindset is, all right, so I'm going to be a little bit busy the next several months. What can I get done? What do I know I can easily get done without over complicating myself or telling myself, oh yeah, I can burn the candle at both ends. It'll be fine. And then you last however long you last. Do you last 4 weeks? Do you last 6 weeks? Do you last 7 weeks before you're like, I can't. Right. So with a Ted Lasso, it's like, instead of like putting on my blinders like I'm a freaking workhorse, I ask myself, I get curious about myself. I get curious about other ways to get something done. I get curious and I start to ask myself better questions. And if you have listened to me for any amount of time, you always know I repeat what my boyfriend, Tony Robbins, says. If I ask better questions, I get better answers. Okay. So here's where we start to think about me opening up open-ended questions versus closed-ended questions. And if you coach with me, I ask a lot of freaking questions. I am not the dictator coach. I'm not like, take 2 of these things and call me in the morning, right? I need that back and forth in order for me to really understand what you are facing, what you're doing, so that I can say, okay, try A, B, or C and see how that works for you. Because what I'm trying to do as a coach is I'm trying to help you build this sustainable plan, right? Everyone wants to come with a plan, right? They want this magical, mythical plan. But when I ask you questions, we're building the plan together. When I ask you questions, it is us co-creating the plan, so that if things start to get a bit off track, I can say, oh, here's how I get back on track. Oh, you know what? I stopped having 3 vegetables a day. I'm going to go back. I'm only having a vegetable for my dinner. I'm going to go back to, having blending in spinach into my shake in the morning. I'm going to go back to making sure I have baby carrots in the refrigerator so that I can have carrots while I cook my dinner. Whatever it is, right? We start to document the process so that I'm able to like get back on track. And how you can ask yourself better questions. So the first question is like, if you ask yourself, do you eat healthy? Right? That's a yes or no question, but that's pretty basic. So if I say, hey, do you eat healthy? You're like, yeah, I eat healthy. And then I'm like, okay, eat this. Like, okay, have a serving of vegetables every morning, have this, have this, have this, have this. And then you're like, oh, yeah, no, it's a lot. I don't know if I want to do that, or asking you to do something that you're just like, it's just too much for you right now. So instead I say, what do you like to eat? Describe a day for me. And that way, when you describe a day for me, I can see how you're eating and I can say, oh, you know what, where are the opportunities for you to add in vegetables? And I can say, oh, here's where you can, have you ever thought about adding spinach to your shake in the morning? Have you ever thought about maybe putting baby carrots in your refrigerator so you can snack on them throughout the day? Right? Those are me trying to find the opportunities that you can add something through the day. So when I ask you those open-ended questions, I see the opportunities. Same thing with workouts. Do you work out? Right? And you can be like, yeah, I work out. I love working out. I love going to the gym. But then if I said, okay, you're going to do 5 days a week and you're going to, go an hour here, an hour there, and you'll be like, oh, damn, you said I like to work out. But then if I asked you, well, what do you like to do? And, I have a client who loves Zumba. Like she's like, gets so fired up about Zumba. Great. So I'm not going to ask her to do cardio on top of Zumba. I'm going to ask her that Zumba is her cardio. And then I say, well, do you think you can give me at least 15, 20 minutes of strength training? Right. And so that way, as I get curious versus judgmental and just, put the blinders on and say, do, I'm like, how do I blend in what it is that you already are doing well? And how can we add a layer on top of that? That's a mindset shift, right? Versus I have to fix myself. So that means I have to radically shift the way my life is going. And the more you radically shift your life, think about it. How many times have you radically like followed a diet and you're just like, okay, I got to do this. 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 And then weeks later, days later, you're like, this is hard. I'm out. Tap out, and you're done, and you're off to the next program, the next plan to save you from yourself, right? So instead of us thinking about we have to fix ourselves, let's be curious, right? Curious, not judgmental. Judging that it's the plan. It's like, I can't follow the plan. No, the plan didn't serve you. That's what happened. That's what happened. So when I ask myself these questions, look at the plan and be like, can I freaking, if I look at the plan, like, all right, 2 vegetables a day. Can I do can I do 2 vegetables a day? Can I work out 3 days a week, 30 minutes? Okay. Can I, it's like, what can I do versus telling myself what, judging what I think I can do, right? Be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves. And start really moving through what is possible for me, because the more I'm honest with myself, the more I'm able to get stuff done. And the more I'm able to get stuff done, the more I'm encouraged. And the more encouraged I am, the more I'm going to continue until I get success, right? The third piece is gratitude. I know, trust me, when I first heard this word, I was just like, ugh, gratitude. But it is taking a peek at your daily successes. Now, I think the reason why I used to roll my eyes about gratitude was because I thought it had to be this big thing. It had to be gratitude, right? And it had to be, I saved a kitten from a burning building, where gratitude is anything that you are like, yeah, that was good today. And gratitude could be, I found a parking spot and the meter was broken. Boom, that's grateful. That's gratitude. Grateful that I was able to, this morning, I was able to get a walk in before it rained. Gratitude, right? And the one thing that I found to be a little bit more powerful than just writing down, like, I was able to get a walk in because it didn't rain, I beat the meter maid, was why, right? So it's like, if I say I found a parking space that I found a parking space with a broken meter. That meant I didn't have to search through my purse for coins, when I only had enough coins to pay for, 75 minutes versus the 2 hours I needed on the meter. Grateful for getting in a walk today before the rain is so that I could, get in my acts of daily living, right? So it's like, what I'm grateful for and why. And again, it doesn't have to be this big thing. And, I remember I was like, oh, cool, the 10 things you're grateful. You know what? You do you, boo. If you can come up with at least one thing that you're grateful for a day and write it in a notebook, then when you're just having like a shit day, you can look back and just be like, oh yeah, that happened today. I am grateful, right? You could just look back at it. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I'm grateful for a shit day because it's the shit days that make me grateful that I do have more great days than shit days, right? There's gratitude right there. It's helping you to value your own accomplishments, and that, all of us think that unless you nailed it, it's not a good day. And not every day you're going to nail it. I wish. I wish we all want to nail it. We all want that, we're all chasing, again, sorry, sports analogy. We're all chasing that perfect game, right? They're getting that perfect game where, you roll up and, you're the Steph Curry of your life and you're hitting 3-pointers like nobody's business. Or if it's, baseball, you're showing up and you're like hitting home runs left and right. They're in San Francisco, they used to, the ball field, Candlestick Park used to be right on the water, or it's still right on the water. But I don't know if the wall you could hit home runs over would land in San Francisco Bay, and there would be like people in kayaks trying to catch the ball, right? It could be that, or it just could be like, you know what? I got in my walk before it freaking rained. Be grateful for that. Like, not everything is going to be this like grand slam, ticker tape parade type thing. So that leads me to embracing our failures. We are going to fail, right? Failure, instead of looking at failure as like fatal, failure is a blinker. Failure is a blinker of like, you know what? That way didn't work. So, you're driving along the highway and like everything's like great, you're driving. And then all of a sudden you start seeing like cones trying to shift you over, to a different lane because there's construction ahead. That's how I look at failure, right? Failure is those cones, maybe it's that big giant blinking arrow pointing, whichever direction is changing. A way to be like, you know what? This way isn't working for you, right? We got to change. We got to switch something up in here because it is not working for you. So you can't avoid failure, because the more I try to avoid failure, the more I'm not being successful, the more I'm not honoring myself. And without failure, how do you know what works? And how do you know what doesn't? And I get it, because I see so many people, they're like, oh, Kim, I just can't lose the weight. So I'm going to go back to something I did 5 years ago because I had success. And I'm like, okay, that's great. So why aren't you doing it now? If it worked so great 5 years ago, why haven't you stuck with it? Crickets, right? Because there was something in there. It failed. It failed. If you are not doing it still, it failed. There is something there that didn't work for your life. So we don't ask ourselves why. Like, we're like, why did it fail? Because that's where it's like anytime when I worked in corporate, anytime I used to do a lot of corporate events. And so when you had a corporate event, we always had what we call the postmortem. And we went through and we're like, what, we're going to do that again. What sucked? And we're never going to do that again. And what can we change? And so I want you to look at, if you followed some program, 5 years ago, you'd be like, all right, what was awesome about it? What could you like that? Like if I, work my reps, what right now, given my current life, say, let's just go 60 days. The next 2 months, if I were to follow that program, what is it realistic for me right now? Can I get excited about it? Does it require you to give up all this food? Does it require you to grocery shop all the time? Does it require you to be regimented in a time that you don't want to or can't be regimented because, life? Is it something you can make a plan for? Is it a time, a season of your life that you might have a lot of travel on the schedule? You might have a lot of, driving your kids here, there, and everywhere, or driving parents to doctor's appointments. And if I get to day 61, what part of this plan is still sustainable? I get to day 71, what part of this plan is still sustainable, right? Because we need to take the pieces and like map it out. But before I do that, I got to get clear. What is it that I freaking want? Because I have a client who, when we first started working together, she's like, Kim, I know my mindset's shit. Okay, well, how do you know your mindset's shit? And she's like, well, I've just been trying to get out of my own way for so long. And I'm like, well, what are you trying to get out of your way with? And she's like, well, lose the weight. I'm like, that sounded like half convincing. Like that sounded like something like you feel like you should, quote unquote, should lose the weight. Have you been told you want to lose the weight? Do you want to lose the weight? Because when you're not clear about what your outcome is, you're not going to get good results, because you're going into it half-heartedly. I want you to think about a time that you were something like gung-ho. If you were just like, yeah, this is what I want. And the best thing I can think about, for all of my friends who've ever wanted children, they are like blinded by, this is what I want. I want a child. And it's just like, boom, like whatever it takes, that's what I'm going to do so that I can have a child. Do you feel the same way about your goals? That is your why. That is your motivation. That is the shift in your mindset that's like, boom. Because when I just say mindset, you are saying that because you think I want to hear it. But my next question is like, okay, what are we driving towards? Where are we driving our bus? Are you crystal clear about what it is that you want? Because when I'm crystal clear about what I want, I can make better choices. And when I make better choices, I have the courage to change my behavior, right? Because courage is your resistance to failure. And one of the reasons why we don't make changes is that we think we're going to fail. And so when I have the courage to say, you know what, this is what I want it more than anything, then I have the power to make a change. And so we need to start shifting that mindset here so that when we get clear, nothing's going to get in our way. It's like, you know, you just see, like, there's nothing between you and where you want to go. It's just like like clear line of sight. And if some obstacle bumps up, you're like, okay, I got this. I know I'm going to find a way around said obstacle. Right. And so in order to do that, we got to start, one, we got to get clear. And then we got to start thinking to ourselves, like, what are the micro actions that I can take? All of us want to take these big actions that, like, it's a Monday and I decide this is what I want. And by Friday, it's going to be delivered to me. Well, I've said it multiple times. We're not Amazon Prime, right? Your goals aren't Amazon Prime. And if you come to a coach, we are not the Maytag repairman. Like, we can't just fix you, So we have to understand, what are the micro actions and that we can take, and we have to take action. So declaring it is just one piece of the puzzle, right? Boom, I put a stake in the ground. So it's like, here, in the 60s, John F. Kennedy declared, oh, we're going to the moon. And didn't they just said, we're going to the moon? And did everyone just sit around a conference room like, oh, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. No, we were like, okay, we're going to the moon. How do we freaking make this happen? Right? We had to get into action. It's like going to the gym, and like, one of the gyms I worked at, we had this like lounge. Going to the gym, sitting in the lounge, and go like, yeah, I'm getting fit, I'm getting healthy, and you ain't doing shit. You just went to the gym, right? Without getting on a piece of cardio, without getting on strength training. You're just like, just by osmosis, I'm supposed to get fit because I'm in the gym sitting on this couch, right? It doesn't have to be, it can't be that way. We have to come up with, what are the actions? And the actions don't have to be big. It can be small sustainable actions still get you results. Is it going to be overnight results? No, but it's definitely going to be lasting results, because, as I will always say to you, how I get results is how I keep my results. And so mindset can be changed, but you have to want to change it, right? You have to let go of that resistance. You have to have the courage that I can change it. And so that's why, we talk about micro habits and, micro habits and experiments. When I first stopped competing, the thought of not going to the gym 6 days a week freaked me out, because I was all or nothing. Like, if I couldn't get a 2-hour workout, then I didn't do it. And then I started to say to myself, well, that's stupid, because I'm not doing anything. So something is better than nothing. And so it was like, okay, the first time I did it was, I only had 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, I only had 30 minutes. And I'm like, I'm going to make the most of these 30 minutes. And I was like, you know what? That felt fabulous. It felt fabulous that when I only had 30 minutes, I knew I could go in and just get stuff done. Right? That was absolutely fabulous. And I want you to start thinking about, what are some of the experiments that you can do? Like, do you feel like you've been like letting yourself down? Like, what are some of the experiments? Like, so for food, can you say, I'm going to do this little micro habit of, can I have a vegetable blended into my shake in the morning, or whenever, if you don't have a shake? Or can I bring baby carrots with me, right? What are ways that I can subtly add in vegetables? Can I, if you're someone who was like me with exercise, can I go 30 days and just do a 30-minute workout? Can I, if I'm not strength training, could I, can I add 30 minutes of strength training in one day a week, right? And give it a shot. Maybe it's 15, I don't know. But this is where we start, right? We start with these little small things, and it starts to feel good. We start to write it down in our gratitude journal. And then we start to subtly feel these changes, and we start to make these shifts. And so, ladies, I want you to take a look at these 4 areas. And where can you start? Where can we start shifting our mindset? Can we be curious, right? Can we really have that curiosity for change? Can we be curious about what it is that we want to change? Then can we look at being grateful, right? Grateful for where we are today, grateful for what we have. Can we embrace our failures? And so that way, we can lead to what mindset ultimately will get for us, right? What mindset determines whether mindset determines who you are and what your life will be. And yes, mindset can be changed. You just have to want to do it. So you've got those 4 places that you want to go, and we can lean into our resistance. So think about it. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are around it. Where do you feel like you need to make these changes? And do you feel like you're open to having a shift in your mindset? It doesn't have to be this cataclysmic shift. It can easily just be this small, subtle change, right? Like I always say, a snowstorm does not happen overnight. It is inch by inch by inch by inch. All right, ladies, stay fabulous, and I will talk to you next Friday.